with Renee.
Yo. We wait all week and all day for more. Saturdays with Renee.
Yes.
Yeah! Saturdays with Renee! I'm here, baby! We about to hit that 50K. Look at that shirt right there. In case y'all didn't know, tell a friend, it's on again. We need 3 more subscribers right now. Go tell somebody. Yo, hit the subscribe button because we're going to make history right here, right now on Saturdays with Renee. This is Saturdays with Renee, Dr. Jab, and Ear Doctor for a quick second. In case y'all didn't know, now you know. Let's go.
Not for a quick second.
That's what I'm talking. Cannot top that.
It's my daughter's birthday. I gotta go do that.
Oh, happy birthday!
Yeah.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
16.
Right
crazy.
on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Said, oh my goodness. I've been there, huh? A couple times.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I got my own struggle, but we don't have to deal with that right now. So, just congratulations, happy birthday!
Yeah.
And like you heard everybody. We need, I think, 3 more subscribers.
3 more.
Yeah, it was 3 more when I looked.
2 more. 2 more.
So
come on, y'all.
Now, and I was gonna say I'm not leaving today until we hit 50K.
Actually, that works. We could do that. I'm down with that. Hopefully, it don't take all day, but.
I mean, I would expect. I'm still expecting it's going to happen within these 2 hours.
It's going to happen
that's my guess too.
No, it's going to happen in a couple minutes. Listen, y'all, I ain't playing with y'all right now. You know, y'all gotta tell somebody, yo, just get on your computer real quick, hit that subscribe button. Even if you don't watch, we trying to make history right now. That's what we need y'all to do. We don't ask y'all for much. We asking y'all to do this to make history with us.
But you do watch, so that's part of it. I haven't seen it in most recently, but part of it is, you know, there's a significant percentage of viewers who are not subscribers.
Right.
So some of you are out here just, you just absorbing the content and enjoying yourselves, and you know, stop hating and subscribe. You watch all the time. So.
And we definitely also have some hate watchers, like people who just,
them.
You know.
Definitely.
They just show up just to complain.
Well, you know it because there's always like 2 dislikes before we even start the show. So they just come through. They're like click.
Before we even hear what you say.
So as of this morning, I'm sorry, Renee. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Go.
But as of this morning, 20.7% of you are not subscribing and watching all the time. So in the last 28 days, 20.7% of viewers.
50. We there, baby.
We there already.
We there, baby. Let's go.
50 and 2.
Let's go.
And 2. So well done, everybody.
That's dope. That's dope. I appreciate y'all. That's dope.
Most definitely.
And Doctor, it's all because you showed up. That's all.
That's what it was.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Listen, you just got to tell people what they need to do sometimes. You know, I like to do that. So, with that said, I'm going to get out. What up?
Well, I just want to say congratulations to you, to all of us as well, to the undefeated remixers in the chat. We got to point out, this is against every uphill barrier and obstacle that could be thought of. Especially just given the cooperative nature of the project, the politics of the project. None of this is supposed to be working, and we built this thing up organically. We didn't just I mean, we just it's organic. It's grassroots. It's a real emergent cooperative collective. So salute to everybody. Congratulations. And thank you to all the supporters. And dip on over to the Patreon too.
Yeah. We build it up. We build it up. We solid as a rock. I'm a fool, man. Yo, y'all have a great
birthday. Enjoy the birthday.
I will. And y'all have a great show. We did it, y'all. Thank all y'all for the likes, the subscribe, the struggle with dealing with my craziness. And they're more too. They're kind of crazy too. But yo, big up to y'all. Y'all have a great show. I'm gonna check y'all out tomorrow for Sunday. So peace out, y'all.
Right on, right on.
All right.
Thank you, Ear Doctor, very much. All right, well done.
That was that's dope that happened. I mean, I was also really I don't know if you saw the email I sent last night. I was so mad.
Yeah, it conveyed.
So mad.
It conveyed. It was clear. It was clear. You know what y'all doing.
Look,
but
it's clear. But we did it. I feel like 50K is a big feat. Like especially being demonetized and definitely like
the chat, son.
The chat is
undefeated.
You can't.
Is undefeated.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. That is hilarious. That is hilarious.
It's good stuff though. It's dope.
So,
I'm actually I'm a little fired up that it happened today, even though I'm annoyed that
I'm not mad at the timing.
Like counteracted my entire plan that we were working on, but the timing, I'll take the timing. I'll take it being done during like a regular scheduled programming. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. So much more to come. Please do make sure you have liked, shared, subscribed. We mixed what we like. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Didn't
mean to put that one up.
No. Dre's in there.
Dre's in there. Look, Dre, we got it. Listen, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it because it's been interesting. It's definitely been interesting. It's been an interesting.
We are going to talk about it, and we'll be joined also in the second half of the show with a very special guest. Do you want to say anything about that before?
Yeah, I mean, Ashley Rob's going to join us. Big shouts. Ashley's running for a county level seat in Durham, North Carolina, and so I'm excited to have Ashley come on and talk about all this stuff because there's some interesting things happening in Durham, and they shared some video and a great clip. We're gonna test my button pressing skills.
Yeah, I tried to help out. I really don't know what in the world is happening.
I don't know. But we can certainly change platforms because pressing buttons makes me nervous. Like I like to leave.
And it's really just specific to this one that I have these issues. Right. I don't know why or what. But anyway, so
right.
But we will figure something out. And I even did try to. Anyway, I did try to upload some. Technically, those videos. One of them is there. They're on the channel.
Okay.
I don't know where the other one went. It said it uploaded, but I can't. I don't know where it is. So, but anyway, we're I'm trying to help out. But
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll get there. How are you doing? How's life?
I'm as good as could be expected. No specific cause for concern on my end, for sure.
Okay. How's the teaching going?
Teaching has been is almost always great. It's a lot.
Yeah, because you have
The
the extra class, right?
It's yeah, the 5th class, even though it's asynchronous and online, there are 40 plus students in it, and, requires some routine and consistent interaction and question answering. And but the teaching is great. Morgan State has, like other HBCUs, received a variety of threats. I don't know to what extent they're connected to the Kirk situation,
Oh, they're all connected.
but they, at least at Morgan, have been deemed not
Credible. Yeah,
substantial.
they're all seen as like
Yeah.
like faux, fake, whatever. Hopefully they're not wrong, because it clearly don't take much for something bad to happen. So
Well, I mean, theoretically, Morgan
right.
State is a highly surveilled and securitied space. So where my building is right next to the brand new police substation. And we have to navigate an array of police vehicles every day going to the parking lot.
Mm.
So I feel very safe and protected. And then on top of that, we have allied security apparatus, private security, uh, you know,
Right.
all throughout campus. And then we have 3,000 plus new cameras.
That's a lot of cameras, man.
No, I'm sorry. 3,000 angles. I think they were saying, with the additional cameras, or maybe it was 3,000 cameras, but it was 3,000. I think they were trying to say like 3,000 views of the campus all told.
Mm.
Maybe not with that many cameras, but the point was that no one can come on campus and get away with doing anything in theory.
Right.
But so I mean, what so with all that security, I feel in good hands. Not to mention, we have some of the most evolving cybersecurity and military intelligence funding coming in, and training and teaching. So I just feel like, you know,
That's wild.
full spectrum protection.
That's wild.
You know.
That's wild.
Uh,
Oh,
but how are you? And how was the family?
the family's good. The first, week and change of high school has gone really well, and
That's right.
uh,
That's right.
so that although I still in my head like dropping him off at the high school, I'm like, oof, like, wait, how do we get here? Like, how's that even possible? But this is, they grow up. What are you gonna do? They grow up.
They
So
do tend to do that,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, so that's that. Um,
Are these shirts available?
they are. They are. They are on the website. They are. They are.
So yes, please avail
Well,
yourself of
well,
the link to the store and the website. And on the back, by the way, you get all of the things.
yeah, you get the list of all the shows. Yep.
You know,
Yeah. We're trying to do something cool, and prep for the big 50K day. So we'll leave them on for a little while, and then probably when we hit like 51, I'll take them down. And then we can start planning for the 100K shirt.
the 100K. Let's get Black Liberation Media, a YouTube plaque.
Can you imagine if we got a YouTube plaque while being demonetized? How funny
So
would that be?
the only problem though would be like this gift situation, if I remember correctly, is that they would probably send it to Kamau. And 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 I don't know how that would work. I feel like it would have to get put on some sort of rotation
Hmm.
because Kamau would just be sitting up there with his 100K plaque. Just like he drank up my nearest. So I don't know. We'd have to. So when we get close to 100K, we're gonna have a conversation with YouTube. Be like, who you think you sending that plaque to?
Right.
Let's have a cooperative discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna have to discuss it. Although you're not having no discussions if you don't send me my form back. See, you see that face right there, y'all.
What
This is
what
my life.
what
This
form
is
did
my
I miss?
life. This is my life with Jared. The last time he got an email from me about the form, he was like, "I filled this out," and then he was like, "Wait, no, I didn't fill
But
this
then
out."
but
And then
it was
the
to
attachment,
not.
Jared. The attachment, Jared. The
Oh
attachment.
Lord.
Yeah, see, this is my life, y'all. This is my life.
Again. Again.
I called Geechee the other day too. He was asking me about something. I was like, I answered no questions till you send me back
Get
my
my form.
form.
That's how you got to do it. That's how you got to
Yeah.
do it.
I just figure like as we get closer to the point where I really need it, like it'll just be a direct communication. And I know I'll get it from you. I'm not worried about it. It's just funny. It cracks me up. Yeah.
I'm telling you, Life with Jared would be a great show. I'm telling you,
That
my
would
life,
be.
my life. If I really seriously, I hate to say this, and then we should move on because this is almost embarrassing. But if Larry David had a black father and a more radical mother, I'm trying to tell you, Curb Your Enthusiasm is
Your life.
feel like I'm living it every day. It's like an episode every day. So but anyway, so you could watch Curb Your Enthusiasm and just imagine Larry with a black father and some radical politics and less talent. I think he's more talented in his field than I am in mine, which just adds to the fuckery. But
The absurdity
speaking
of
of which, the media coverage, Renee,
yeah, man.
of
Yeah.
first of all, to what extent did Charlie Kirk factor uh in your world?
I mean, very. I mean, I did know who he was, which is contrary to like every other adult in my household. Like no one knew who he was when I was asking people. Like literally, no one knew. So I felt a little bit better that like my understanding of this being like an internet thing, and if you weren't a person who lived on the internet, like it wasn't part of your sphere of understanding. And so I think for me, it was more one recognizing that like the only reason I had a clue who he was because I pay attention on reels and such. And how much of this is just like every other media story, right? It basically becomes the thing that media wants it to be. So it could have, I mean, because not for nothing, what was it like 20 or 30 minutes after what happened in Utah happened, there was a school shooting in Colorado, right? And the young person who brought the gun to school committed suicide on site. 2 people were hospitalized. At last check, 1 was still in critical condition. And so this all happened like in the same afternoon, and that got almost no attention, right? And so I have to always remind myself consistently, like, our media sphere in this country specifically, and I know it happens in other places, but I think more so here than anywhere, because quote unquote Americans like to call ourselves, like, free speech, and all these things that people lay claim to as residents here. But everyone's completely guided by, like, what the mainstream narrative is. And so you have all of these, I mean, major mainstream outlets telling this story about this person who was an internet person, and really, like, get it, like, it just I mean, it's a much bigger story because they decided they wanted it to be a much bigger story. And you have to think about, is this in part because they don't want to talk about the fact that Israel tried to kill off the Hamas leaders in Qatar? Like, like, there are all these other stories that are happening, and you have to wonder, like, is it all about focusing on this thing so that we're not talking about all the other outrage that's happening? You know what I mean?
So, yes. So first of all, yes, I do know what you mean. You know, I understood about a bit about Charlie Kirk only primarily because of two things. One, Dr. Burroughs had me read Meme Wars a couple years back, and so in which Kirk has some, has paid some attention and is connected to this, as you said, online, but really powerful and penetrating right wing media universe,
Right.
and where Nick Fuentes and Kirk and all of them are, as Meme Wars talks about, they were to the right of the average conservative, and were very much bothered by any support for immigration, gay rights, or Israel. So
Hmm.
so they're even to the right of, in some ways, I guess you could call it, to the right of uh, Christian Zionists.
Right.
So, which was also kind of funny when when Kash Patel says, "I'll see you in Valhalla," which to Charlie Kirk and his folks would be like a spit in the face, basically.
Right.
Like that, to his view of Christianity, like Valhalla, ain't no Valhalla. We
Right.
we killed a Valhalla supporter. Like, he's like, so anyway, that's why, and because of, and then in addition to Meme Wars, because R.M. Brown made fun of him all the time. So I actually
Okay.
would somewhat routinely hear from Charlie Kirk, oddly enough, through R.M. Brown's show.
Okay.
And the dude was uh, 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 amazingly adept at being ignorant
Right.
and encouraging hostility and violence.
Right.
So like, uh but anyway, so that's and then to see, I wanted to pull it up, but I if folks look at what was, it was sent to me, but the not only the what the white right is saying about this, saying that that Kirk was killed because of left wing and the
Oh,
progressives,
they went wild with that one. Yeah. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then but then the liberals saying, "Oh, we feel sorry for Kirk's family, and we're so appalled at any violence, and Kirk was, he may have been a bad we may have disagreed on this, that, and the third, but this is just such a terrible, all of that kind of stuff." But then the Shabazz Center, the Malcolm X Shabazz Center, and I sent you what was sent me,
Yeah.
that that, you know, they're paying homage to a black police officer killed in the line of duty to make a point about how the country is paying tribute to Charlie Kirk, and to do it by raising up the death of a black police officer on an Instagram page that features zero discussion of political prisoners was really disturbing. And then to see Dr. King the Third, or Martin Luther King the Third, coming out with his that liberal message of essentially equating Kirk's assassination to on the right to King's on the left, which is so infuriatingly upside down and backwards. I, you know, and salute to the few people that said they understood the pun, but who remember the reference from certain, for those of us of a certain age. But the people are really kirking out right now. They kirking out. And the narrative, so the narrative warfare and analyses have just been appalling, except of course for what was heard throughout the week on this now 50,000 plus subscriber platform.
Right. It was, so for me, I think watching as things kind of like transpired, it's been very interesting to watch people respond to absolutely like no information, right? So you have the representative Nancy Mace on live TV blaming a trans person for this, which literally has nothing, like there was no evidence of that. There was nothing that pointed to that. There was no reason to say it was that, but somehow she decided that that was what was happening. You know, then she went on to call for the death penalty and all these things. And then, you know, it comes out that it's, you know, like a white dude from Utah. And now she wants prayers for the person from Utah. So
with his Republican father.
Right. And, you know, so there's also a lot there now that the story has come out. And again, like I caution everyone to not jump up and down about anything that anybody says from law enforcement about what happened, because as we've learned, right, like the story that we get when they, you know, when they've promoted their whatever they want to be the national narrative is very often not the story that things end with after they've done the full, like, you know, the full whatever stuff they do. Now, so I had put to, so y'all, you're gonna get a spreadsheet that, and I don't, Jared, if I push this button, am I gonna jack something up? Like there's, you know, there's a lot. There's a lot.
If
right.
if you're, yeah, you should be able to share, and we can all, if Renee figures this out, we can all witness the end of my career and purpose here.
All right.
But
so when I share, right, like how do I make sure
it's sharing now? So yeah, if you unmute it,
it's gotta stop.
We
This
hear
shit
it.
is like enough is enough. And now I have to deal with real safety concerns. It sounds like the shooter was a tranny or pro-tranny. And just because I want to protect women, that I'm worried about getting murdered. Are you fucking kidding me? It's out of control, and enough is enough. And I'm going to double down on this. I'm going to be more vigilant than ever. I'm going to be louder than I've ever been until this shit stops. It's got to stop.
So there's that.
You did it, Renee.
So there's that, right? So this was like the wow, right? Like, and then, you know, she's like, I'm doubling down. And she, you know, like, okay. But it, you know, to me, like this whole storyline of just like randomly blaming people and she's done nothing in response to say like, oh, like my bad, I was wrong about that part. She's just gone full hog on like, now she's going after people who aren't appropriately like expressing their sorrow and da 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 da. And so we have all of that happening. So when you really look at the response to this, and this is what I really like, this is where I'm really concerned, and I don't even know if concerned is the right word for it. So for me, I'll just say flat out, like, Charlie Kirk was very clear with people how he felt about gun violence, right? He was in full support of the Second Amendment. He made it very clear that he didn't find death by gun violence to be problematic, because if it happens, like, it's all just part of the gun culture. And if everybody has a gun, then there'll be less gun violence. I'm not really sure how that math. He was also clear that empathy is not a thing, right? Like, he said it very clearly. He doesn't believe in empathy. He doesn't, he doesn't think empathy, it's like this new age thing, is what he called it. And so he was very clear about how he would respond in watching someone else go through this. So I'm not really sure about like why we would be responding any differently than what his response would be, right? So we'll put that out and we'll leave that there, because if you tell me how you want me to respond and I respond that way, then I don't know why that would be problematic. Like, I don't have any reason to be, this whole response of like making this really strong statement about political violence. Like, I read all these articles and all these things, how sad it is, and how upsetting it is, and this is not who we are. And then I started thinking about like, George Jackson being shot to death in California, and Fred Hampton being shot to death by the police in Chicago, and Malcolm X being shot to death in Harlem, and thinking like, all these people, this is all political violence. Like, every bit of it, sometimes at the hands of law enforcement, sometimes at the hands of whoever decided, to do. So I'm just unclear, like, this whole, what seems to be now the political violence is a problem. And I just don't really, like, I'm not sure who draws these lines to say like, all of the political violence that has happened all along. I mean, this has been ongoing. We've had, just this year, there have been actual like politicians who were in seats, right, who were murdered for their political views. That wasn't bad enough. So I'm just not 100% sure like what exactly is happening, that now this is the line.
It's clearly, I mean, no, it's clearly again another of the false right-wing narratives that never gets properly addressed by what's supposed to be the liberal opposition. So immediately from Trump on down, through Alex Jones saying this is war on the right wing, to who was the other one I saw? Oh, dang. But they're all basically running. Tim Pool, Aaron Brown on his show was covered it. Like they're all out here saying, that similar to what she was saying, even as more information was coming out. The frame is to make this seem as though the left wing are the ones causing all this political violence, while they ignore, again, from the examples you gave, to Dylan Roof, to the Trump supporter that shot up the Congress people in now I can't remember where everything was happening. Is it Minnesota? But they ignore all of this. They ignore what I've been reading about for 30 years now. The white nationalist right, the patriot groups, and all of them, who, the one I always remember, they rolled up on a sheriff's, showed up in the sheriff's house on a Tuesday afternoon during lunch and shot up him and his wife in their own living room. Like these, like they don't like all of a sudden now they, but when and the one who allegedly shot at Trump, again, another right wing, these again, this idea that there is some left that is out here organizing itself for political violence is absurd, and it's certainly not been displayed in the examples that they're holding up. So I did see someone was attaching it to the shooting outside the of the Israelis outside of that spot in DC, and they were saying, "See, this is another example of that." Until they see the pictures of this dude in his Trump shirt and Republican household. But that, so anyway, that's what, and then again, the liberals, as we've already, like, they only want to come out and say, well, we just, we thoughts and prayers, and we feel terrible for his family, and know we might disagree on some things, but there's no condemnation for the climate that really the, the rabid white right wing create.
Right. And just, like when you start really looking at how white people have responded to this, right? Without, and people have to understand, part of what creates this response is how the media presents the story, right? And so, let's look, now that I know how to push a button, right? Let's talk about it. Let's, because this is like crazy to me.
Yes.
Your hearts to go out and shoot a young man who's never hurted anyone, with Christian values, a young, beautiful family, a father, a husband, a friend, a son. You shot him. Why? Because you didn't agree with his politics? Because you didn't agree with his ideology? That's the reason why he deserves to die? You fucking animals! Mother.
I mean, these are like, I'm not even being funny. Like, I fell down a for real rabbit hole last night because I was trying to understand. I was just trying to look at it from like, like people responding on, like, because you have your ideologies, right? Like you have your people that you really support, and so I don't even think it's that crazy that the people who followed and support and believe in all the things that he believed in would be would have a response. Like, I'm not, it is what it is, right? But it's the things that I'm like, some of the folks who came out in response, like, people really got to think to themselves, like, is this okay? Is this what we're doing now? Because this, just so we know.
Man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man, fight back!
Like, right? And then when you go and you look at, because I really did this, I went to all of the mainstream outlets to see, like, what are they talking about? What are they saying? And, it's all about, like, the conservative activist and the icon and, all these things. And no one's examining the underlying issues, right? No one's examining, like, if you go to any of these mainstream things, like any of them, there is no examination of why people would be questioning, like, why should we be celebrating? Like, why should we be, like, really hurt and upset about someone who felt this way about my people? Right? Like, And I think everyone here knows that I'm not a person who champions like death in any way, shape, or form. It's just not how I do things. But I'm also not going to be doing the prayers and whatever thing when people are not even being honest about what the man's life was about. Right? Like he got funded by a billionaire who stopped him and literally told him, like, don't go to college. I'm going to give you money so you can start an organization because we need you to be like a voice, right? He was impressed by whatever it was that he saw when he was speaking. And so he dropped out of college, took the money, they started their organization together. And then, you know, he did what people do, right? He went out, he talked to folks, you know, whatever. And, you know, like it's in part like this is what you should be expecting people to do when they're trying to make sure that their ideology is the thing that gets represented. But even this whole storyline of like what a great debater he was, pardon me, right? And like, you know, but where like I never really saw any actual debates, right? Like you see like him sitting and talking about, you know, like he lets people ask him questions, but then where was the actual like debate outside of like him shutting people down and letting people boo in the crowd and like the whole thing? Like I maybe it's me because I wasn't
No,
I didn't follow, you know.
No, he wasn't debating. He was challenging in sort of mass style college students on a given issue and in some rapid fire back and forth. So
Right.
he's picking on. Well, I guess it's I guess other than age, it's not fair to say he's picking on anybody because he himself didn't finish and was not a college graduate. But he's picking on younger people who are not prepared and working off of a script and you know, not particularly well funded to stage defense of right wing issues in the way that he was. So, but he never, as far as I'm aware, he was not seeking to engage people of a similar age or similar experience or who would actually know anything about the issues. He was not actually looking to engage to improve conversation. It was more to create clips and clickbait and viral moments for
Right.
the white right.
Right.
That was it. So
Right.
yeah,
Because I did actually funny enough, I came across someone who asked him a question that it appears he couldn't really, you know, in the end he just kind of walked away without answering the question. I thought it was pretty interesting that this, you know, when not prepped and prepared for it, this is what happened.
Question. Why did you say that the civil rights bill should be overturned?
I didn't say that. I said it was a mistake.
Why? That's crazy.
Now you gotta figure it out.
I wouldn't be here. That's trouble.
Who's that? Who's that? All right.
Question.
So, oh, hold on. So here it is. This little child says, "Well, why?" And the answer was, "You go figure it out."
exactly, because he didn't have his script ready to scream at white college kids.
So
So
I was like, oof, okay. So, you know, so I really struggle with this whole thing. And really and truly, it's the response of it all that like for me is just too much. Like some of these folks and their plan of how to deal with this was really like It was something. So I'm gonna play one more because because like literally you can't make this stuff up when like you just can't make this stuff up. So hold on one second, let me see.
No, including as others have been pointing out that he, at the time he's getting shot, what he was saying and everything. So yeah,
Right,
but
right. All right,
mhm.
so let me unmute and then oh, of course. Wait, is it playing? I'm on the wrong
The
screen.
ad is
Not where
playing.
I'm at.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, y'all. I don't have no what is this? No, this is not what I want. Where'd the thing go? Hold
For
on. Oh, there we
33
go.
hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country.
nope.
Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for.
Like you can't. The governor of Utah stood in front of a camera and said he spent 33 hours praying that it wasn't one of us.
And I think by extrapolation, again, the white right was feeling the same way. That they were saying, "Oh, I hope it isn't one of us," because they wanted to use it to stoke this nonsense about a civil war with a non-existent oppositional left. And but then you would want to say that I hope it's not one of us, good gun-toting, open carry Mormon Christians who would be out here doing something like this. But again, I'm no expert and haven't fired a gun, I don't know, 30 years since I was in the Navy. And even then I wasn't very good. But 200 yards, one shot in the neck.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would have to be from somebody from one of them open carry, gun toting, Mormon onward Christian soldier states. I would think it would make most sense that that's where it would come from. And then, by the way, in that same press conference, when Kash Patel, the first thing he says when he gets to the mic is, "This is what happens when you let good cops do their job."
Right.
And it's like,
so
the boy's father called you. What the hell are you talking about? What police work? He'd still be out there if his father didn't snitch.
Right. Because that's the other part of this that no one's talking about, right? Like the news, part of the part of the narrative is also there wasn't enough security. He had his own private detail. There were multiple undercovers also in the crowd, right? This, this happens. They can't stop it. They can't figure out who did it. And if the kid didn't turn himself in, they probably still wouldn't have anybody. So in the end, like what you watch happening in real time is evidence of everything we've been saying all the time, which is that the police don't stop nothing, they can't solve nothing, and they can't fix nothing. Right? Like literally in real time watching it happen.
It's a core feature of some of even the history you recounted earlier, that so many people under the most intense FBI and state surveillance get assassinated and nobody seems to know what happened.
Right.
So what happened? What
right.
What? I did see one thing that was talking about how that campus there, because of the open carry and so much, like it's one of the least surveilled campuses, that there aren't as many cameras and all this because they're all gun-toting good Mormon Christians who wouldn't need to be under any surveillance. But
because it's literally an open carry campus.
So, which is, I think, one of the reasons why that first one they grabbed up was they thought they had somebody. But it's like, no, everybody out there got a gun and probably some attendant issue.
Right.
But I do think, I mean, again, in terms of this media narrative, it would be fascinating, and I'm sure somewhere it's being done properly, to the extent that we all haven't done it. But what they're really going to be struggling with, narratively speaking, is again the factions within the white right. And
Right.
again, Charlie Kirk represented a faction of the white right that many white rightists don't agree with.
Right.
And it would be fascinating to see that issue explored properly,
Right.
to the
And
extent
it's
people
and
care.
it's and it's been interesting because I mean, there's always conflict within factions. I didn't realize that like there was this other like alternate right group that was to the right of like Kirk and his group. And
There's
then
always one more.
there's always one more, always one more. And so now people are really focused and saying like he was part of this group. And I really want to caution people about all of because we don't know anything, right? Like it is so easy to jump on something and say like, oh, like this is it, right? So now people are saying like this is that it's the Nick Fuentes like Groiger group Grapers. That's it,
Ripers, yeah.
right? Now Nick Fuentes has come out with a statement to say it's not us, right? Like we didn't have nothing to do with it. Y'all trying to blame my group. It's not us, blah, blah, blah. They found somebody who went to high school with the kid to say like he was the leftist of everybody he was on the most left of everybody in his family. The grandmothers on Daily Mail saying the whole family are Trump supporters. He was actually registered as like an independent. He didn't actually have an actual party selected. And so, there's going to be now this full out like finger pointing, right? And so it could definitely be like, he was part of this group because apparently like the memes and whatever was on the bullets and the whole thing is all associated with this Nick Fuentes group. But I don't follow any of these things. Right. So, but my understanding is just like this person says, like Sister Ashley Knuckles says, they don't support Republicans generally because they're not right enough. Like they're not far enough to the right.
That's the point.
Right.
Because even mainstream conservative Republicans have an affinity for some form of immigration policy that isn't hostile to a labor force that they need to exploit being able to come into this country.
Right.
And then, of course, they have no problem with the Christian Zionism. But a lot of that real right wing, that super right wing, they're not messing with the Jews and the other mud people, and in any form or fashion. So I'm like, again, let some news coverage deal with that distinction.
And that's the thing that frustrates me because they're not going to, right? They're like any information that you see at all about this like secondhand super right wing beyond Republican right? It's all people like on Instagram, like unearthing information, right? The mainstream media is not going to talk about what essentially is white on white crime, right? Like at the end, that's what this is. And, like everyone's quick to talk about sending, how Trump's, he's going to Memphis next because Memphis is a problem and da 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 da. And no one's looking at the reports from 2023 that shows there's no states that have more shooting than red states with open gun laws. Right? The studies from 2023 that looked at 21 years of history of shootings found that there are more shootings in rural areas than there are in urban cities by the numbers. But no one's going to talk about that part. No one's going to focus on that part. But they'll be quick to keep, to allow this ongoing conversation about like, this is not us. This is we can't do the political violence, da, 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 da. But none of them are going to talk about the real problems that come with lack of gun control.
No, hell no. And I love this idea of dissecting the movie Wag the Dog. It's one of my favorite films, actually. I used to show it to my high school students even.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And I know so again, forgive me everybody for my whatever camera issues, whatever's going on over here, but with the browser and all that. But I just want to say quickly that and shout out to Jared Ware for encouraging this. But I started and you for the listening point. But I started listening to the book about the Fort Bragg cartel. And when you talk about things that they don't want to talk about, all of this to me is that there is this connection between this white right, this highly traumatized, post-traumatic, etc., amphetamine and cocaine ridden special forces community that comes back to the United States and wreaks havoc, starting of course with their wives and girlfriends who apparently have just all kinds of accidental deaths, etc., and so forth. And then these folks are running around with thousands of kilos of cocaine and heroin being trafficked, intense levels of violence going 0 to 100 instantaneously, including against one another. And then having, I mean, and then a lot of it being attached to these variations of white right nationalist politics. And I'm like, I mean, it's almost amazing. Yeah, I don't even want to. It's amazing.
No,
it's
but
amazing.
So now I have to get that book because that'll be.
I mean, it's a well written book. The listen is I mean, it's the proverbial. I can't put it down. I mean, it's and I admit that I engage this kind of media much like other forms of media, and I admit this is like the reverse of the Vernon philosophy. When for the most part you're not talking at all about Black people, it makes me able to enjoy it a little bit more. So it's like, and to your point about this country wanting to not talk about the gun problem and wanting to talk only about Black on Black violence, they need to talk about white special force on white special forces violence. Like they need to and the amount of drug addicted, well armed and trained psychopaths that are running around here. And then you want to talk about put the National Guard in Chicago, you need to put the National Guard in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's what
right.
Which they apparently call Vietnam. That's one of the nicknames. I'm like, good God. So anyway,
yeah, it's crazy. And then the only other thing, and let me share my spreadsheet, and then people can. There's a ton of links on here that folks can feel free to peruse and and take a look at. I really, in the end, it was me trying to figure out, like, really trying to make some sense of, what was being said in the different circles and how it was being represented in media spaces, in the mainstream media, and really just understanding that once again, this is all just part of the propaganda plan, right? Like it's all just part of, all right, so now this thing happened, and now how do we capitalize best on this thing to be able to continue to promote the things that the media and the government and everybody wants to be the priority, while at the same time completely disregarding all of the things that fed into it becoming the problem, right? Because if you totally disregard like the gun violence in general, right? Like, take everything that he says away, take everything that he promotes away. If you simply just look at the fact that we have a real gun control problem here, right? Like if you can't talk about that, then what are we doing, right? If you can't, especially now, once it was announced who the person was, who, I mean, and again, allegedly, right? Like we still don't even know that this is really the story. They're saying like he confessed and all these things, but listen, the 14-year-old in Central Park also confessed. Like we don't really know what the full story and the full background of any of these things are, right? But the reality of the situation is the media told the story. So first the story was this happened and it was definitely somebody from the left that did it. And then the story became this happened. We don't really know who did it because, and frankly, at that point, I believe they did kind of know who did it, but they had to start trying to back down from the initial storyline because they realized that their initial storyline was not fitting, right? Like it wasn't going to work. So now we're going to back down. We're going to slow things down a little bit, and then we'll announce, who we think actually did it. And now that person is associated with a family that are full Trump supporters. We have pictures on the internet of him dressed up as Trump for Halloween, him wearing his Trump Make America Great Again shirt, like all these things. His family's full out Trump. And now, now the story is like, we have to pray for this kid because he's clearly like, he was led astray somewhere. So now we're going to try and do the whole, like, he was the leftist person on his family. And then you have other people saying, no, he's associated with this, right? But no one's going to talk about this infighting within the right wing, right? Because when people talk about the left, it's always like, we're crazy and we don't have anything said. We're divided. We're not all on the same page and blah, 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 blah. And people act like that's not on all sides, right? That's literally, that's how it is everywhere. And it's because it is a created, all this dissension and confusion is created and mass produced by media. Like this is the intention.
What the left, and especially the actual left, not the MSNBC left, what the actual left definitely also does not have, what also that you alluded to, produced Charlie Kirk, is this well-resourced white ruling elite funding. So there is no equivalent on the real left to Peter Thiel and Andreessen and Horowitz and
or
Pierre Omidyar.
Bill, whatever his name is, that funded Charlie Kirk, who is the brainchild between Xerox becoming the company that was leasing its machines instead of selling them. Right? Like,
exactly.
So so there's that. It's just, there's just a lot. But so the last thing that I want to say, and Ashley's here, but so I don't want to take up too much time. But and see, look at that. Look how quick that happened. Guardian just retracted that about him being a leftist in his. So yeah, see, there we go. Right. So the other thing that I want to Ackman, really point out
is Ackman, right? Bill Ackman.
No, I don't think that was the name.
That would make sense.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was
I'll look real quick.
My bad. I was looking for.
No. It's fine.
TPUSA. There's a
because he passed away during COVID from COVID. COVID complications. Hold on, I'll tell you the name. William Montgomery.
Okay.
William Montgomery. So once again, you have like a very wealthy white man who's part of the corporate class, right? Who is funding the ability for a younger white person to sell themselves on the internet, right? And to create an atmosphere where, people, so where now he's being presented as like this master debater, shout out Diallo, right? About like, so the whole thing is like crazy. So the last thing that I want to make sure I bring up, and Ashley, bear with me. I want to make sure that I don't forget to bring this up, because I think this is a big thing that like the contradiction and the sheer hypocrisy of this is like mind-boggling to me. So you have all these people who are like, you can't, there's political violence, and he was a champion for free speech, right? Like it's all about the free speech and how important it is that we all have the free speech, and like why are we attacking people for their free speech, and da 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 da. And then let's see if I can do it. And then you get this, right? You get the State Department literally telling people that they're going to be deported if they don't respond to this the way they want you to. So this is from Truth Out. The headline is State Department warns foreigners not to mock Kirk's killing. A State Department official asked people to report foreigners who put on social media making light of the event. The Trump administration and GOP officials have seized upon the murder of right-wing political commentator Charlie Kirk to attempt to target immigrants and crack down on free speech rights in the U.S.
Wow.
The day after his death, Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau put out a call for people to report foreigners to the State Department who post on social media praising, rationalizing, and making light of the event. In light of yesterday's horrific assassination of a leading political figure, I want to underscore that foreigners who glorify violence and hatred are not welcome visitors to our country, he said. Please feel free, he continues to say, to bring such comments by foreigners to my attention so the State Department can protect the American people.
Wow.
So you have that. And then, and this is the last one I'll show, but all of these links are they're all in that spreadsheet that I put out there. Because this is not just about the foreign folks having the gall to say stuff. This is also about teachers, firefighters, officials on leave or fired over Charlie Kirk posts.
What?
Teachers, firefighters, elected officials, and even a cable news contributor have lost their jobs or are under investigation after comments they made about the assassination of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. Reports of teachers and school administrators around the country being put on leave proliferated Thursday, less than 24 hours after the death. School employees in Tennessee, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Mississippi, Ohio were all being investigated for posts they made on social media. We can add Florida to that list. At least one teacher in South Carolina was fired. Teacher in Oregon landed him in hot water. Public relations. So this is a public relations employee for the National Football League Carolina Panthers was terminated.
Wow.
So
much for free speech.
Right. So I want people to understand the real contradiction, like the hypocrisy in telling people like this man was free speech and you cannot attack people for their thoughts and their words. This is absurd. I mean, the all out like indignation, the audacity. But don't say anything wrong in response because you're going to lose your job. You got straight up white right-wingers saying they're going to ruin people's lives if they see it. Now, the same lady who 5 years after Floyd and the uprisings posted on her Twitter feed, congratulations, George Floyd, you've been sober for 5 years.
Wow.
Right? Is telling people she's going to ruin their lives if they don't respond the way she finds to be appropriate on social media. So I want people to understand as always, right, that all of these quote unquote rights and, like your human rights, your free speech, your this, your that, whatever, none of it comes without a string attached. Your free rights only count, like your free speech is only applicable as long as you're not saying something they don't want you to say out loud. Right? I mean,
yeah, I just was checking the Onion one more time to see if they updated anything about with a headline saying that Trump was now calling for guns to be taken from the hands of straight white men.
Right.
But I'm moving faster than the Onion apparently, because I think that needs to be the next headline.
Right.
But yeah, that's wild though. That.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And never mind the stuff that Kirk was saying, including up to the moment he got killed, where he was talking about when asked about mass shootings, and he made a quip about gang violence, and I think he also said something about trans folks there as well.
Well, the questioning that was happening was someone
that's what
was
I'm waiting for. Stone Chowder, South Park.
Someone was making the comparison regarding mass shooting and asked how many shootings have occurred because of trans people. His response was too many. The person responded, actually, it's been 5. And then the person went on to ask about, how many mass shootings have there been in the past, I think 10 years, he said. And his response was something to the effect of, are we including or not including gang violence? And that was the last quote. And so, like even that, and when you hear like some of these debate points that are made, like he likes to point out like these statistics about like, 60% of crimes are committed by Black people. That was a big thing that he used to say in his quotes. He was very against DEI, and I'm also against DEI, but he took it to the point of saying like, if I get on a plane and there's a Black like pilot, I'm concerned that the pilot doesn't know what they're doing and that it's a DEI hire. In that spreadsheet, there were a couple of really good people who kind of reflected on some of the things that he actually said that were problematic, that I think people could look at. So for me, I think for me, what offends me the most is this clear, like just dismissal of all the things that were truly like hateful and bigoted and misogynist. Like he really said some like gross stuff, right? He really did. And none of that is part of the narrative.
No,
right.
In fact, the only time it's mentioned at all is to say he may have said some things we disagree with, but we honor the fact that he had the right to say them, and he was a patriot and all this other kind of stuff.
Right. And so, for me, I that's the part of it that I find problematic is like, there's no part of this country that can be honest about it, right? Like honest about what really is happening. Because if you are honest about it, then you miss a lot of those things, right? So like my mother was like, if you hadn't told me all of the stuff that like he said that were problematic, I would have just simply been like, oh, that's awful that this happened to this kid. Like he's so young, he's a father, like, because that's all she was seeing. No one was talking about the problematic things. And listen, I agree. Like, I don't think people should be like shot because they don't like Black people and they think that like people have to live the way they find it appropriate for them to live. But at the same time, like to pretend none of that was part of his story is wild to me. It's wild.
Kwame Ture is still right. The question of violence is always up to them. The left is not pushing for violence. Nobody's pushing for violence except for the ruling elite and the white right, to the extent that there's any difference. So his language was violent. the policies he supports are violent. Again, the late Derek Bell equated policies that Kirk and his allies support to taking Black people out to a secluded place every week and shooting them. Hundreds, he said, of Black people out every week to shooting them. The obviously the genocide in Palestine is violent. All this stuff is violent. The farms that these poor white Trump supporters are losing
is violence.
Is violence. So,
right.
But I think and I know we were to my last comment, at least for now on this, as we make way for our guest, is that I think at least Charlie Kirk would be happy to know that his death was not caused by a DEI hire.
I can't.
There's no Black man flying that plane. You don't have to worry. There's no trans pilot.
I told my mother I was going to go through this without laughing, and there you go. I can't stand you.
I mean, it was allegedly a straight white, good old Republican, or raised Christian Mormon. I mean, you can't ask for better than that, man.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is wild, but I really do. I encourage people. You have the spreadsheet. I'll remind Jared to add it to the links so that anybody can go in and kind of take a look. And then, we'll just end with, in the end, right? Like per what the current storyline is that's being presented by the FBI and Utah and everybody, it was a straight man, white man who lived in Utah, who apparently was very smart, scored well on the ACT, and was a straight A student in high school, who perpetrated this act against another white person on a campus that is mostly white students, to my knowledge. I don't want to say there's no Black people there, because I would imagine that's probably not the case. In a state that is a majority white state, that is a for real, like, Republican space. And all of this happened there. And somehow, the military is going to Memphis. Right. And somehow the HBCUs are getting the death threats. And somehow NYU is getting manifestos warning their Black students. Right. We didn't have nothing to do with this. This one. Like,
not a single thing.
We had nothing to do with this.
Not one single thing, unless it was a Black man that drove his Uber. But no, I think he took I think he drove his own Dodge Charger.
Well, didn't they see him like running through the streets and stuff? Like he,
I don't know. Yeah. So just quickly, speaking of HBCUs, we literally just got word from our president that our former president, Dr. Earl Richardson, has passed away. So rest in peace to the president that presided over my hiring. And but yeah, anyway, sorry for that. Just noticed that. But yeah, no, we had nothing. This white on white crime problem is a real issue.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we're really going to be worried about
really need to address
crime, it needs to be addressed. We got to address also the white on white crime and the guns and the overt violence. And we'll just see, like, if anybody makes any attempt at all to, I don't know, maybe share this part of the story, because I'm not seeing it so far, like, at all. So there we go. So I ended with the colleges on purpose, because one of the things we talked about was in the past on the show was talking about North Carolina Central and what was happening with the students there on campus. And that led me to having a lot of back and forth in the chat and in other places with A-Rob, Ashley Robbins. And so that was like a kickoff. And then I found out that Ashley was running for a seat in North Carolina, in Durham. And so Ashley has a lot of information about what's going on in Durham that apparently no one's listening to. And look, we all about giving space to these stories. So welcome, Ashley. Good to see you.
Welcome.
Good morning. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we got you. We got you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here with y'all.
I'm excited, and y'all have to understand how like goofy I can be sometimes. So my brother's name is Robert, right? That like so this entire time that Rob has been on chat and we've been back and forth and the whole thing. I had the name Robert in my head as your first name, and so I just listen.
Well, I know also that your daughter's first name is Rob, R-O-B-B.
Right.
Too,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that came from, I used to manage local hip hop artists and do a weekly hip hop event. And so, everybody has a pseudonym or moniker. And so I just took the first letter of my first name and the first 4 letters of my last name. And everybody just called me A-Rob. So my YouTube page was where I had all the videos from different events I've done. And so I just kept the same YouTube page and the same name.
Look, whatever works. But welcome. I'm really excited that we were able to get you to join. I know it was a last minute conversation, but I really appreciate you giving the time. As you know, here we let folks introduce themselves. So if you can let the folks know who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, how you got here, all the good stuff.
Sure. My name is Ashley Robbins. I am a resident in Durham, North Carolina, running for City Council, Ward 2, under an anti-capitalist platform. I am a graduate of North Carolina State University with a degree in communications and Africana studies. And I have my master's of public administration from North Carolina Central University, the HBCU you're referring to. And I'm also currently a student there in the School of Education, learning to work with students with visual impairments. What brought me here, I actually feel like it's a culmination of my whole life kind of happening right now. As I mentioned, my degrees, I feel like I'm putting all of that together now. And I really appreciate this platform because I honestly have never thought about running for office. And I wouldn't have if had not been from the motivation from the different guests you all have had and the conversations that you have on here. I have interacted with a few people in my local area that I've been able to connect to through the chat. And and it's been truly amazing. So I just appreciate all the work that you all do. I've served in boards and committees in Durham, but again, never thought about running for public office. I have social anxiety. I don't like public speaking, which running for office requires a lot of that. And so part of the reason that I'm running was to challenge myself and step out of my comfort zone, because I've heard that I have good ideas and good things to say and that more people need to hear what I have to say. Another reason that I'm running is to just educate myself about the process, running for local office, and take that information and share it with other people in the city. And to just highlight how inaccessible local government is from the perspective of a resident and a candidate. It's not meant for people that have to work full time, because you do get paid in Durham. We actually have probably the highest salary for city council in the state, but it's only around like $45,000. So it's not enough to not also have additional income, but it's also hard to do when you have a full-time job, which is why a lot of the people in leadership tend to be independently wealthy already, business owners, clergy, folks that don't have to worry about actually maintaining and holding down a job. So that's part of the reason why I was running also. Our filing fees are $400. So again, that's another barrier for people getting into public office. And I wanted to just highlight that it's also not accessible for people with disabilities. They don't ask you anywhere in your application, do you need accommodations? Is there anything that we should know? Do you need assistance with anything? When you do the candidate forms, nobody asks. They just kind of assume that everyone is on the same level. And I'm just using this platform to highlight those things. And finally, I ran as a socialist propagandist. When I started, I didn't have any intentions of winning or even really a desire to win. It was more of pushing propaganda around socialism, helping people connect the need for the community fridges we have in town, gentrification, all these poverty-related issues to capitalism and development that's happening in the city. And even when I took my picture for the Board of Elections, I had on the End Capitalism shirt from the Claudia and Karina campaign. And I asked them if I could take the American flag out of the picture when I took it. They told me I couldn't, but I was just strategically in every setting, just trying to push that, like, I'm not with this stuff. And that's what I've been doing the entire time. I had anticipated having a lot more pushback than I've gotten. The only real confrontational, particularly online, that's happened is when the Board of Elections posted my picture when with the shirt on, somebody posted under it, what an idiot. And so I just responded to them. Thank you for acknowledging my candidacy. I'll be setting up meetings with local residents soon to discuss their concerns. Would you like to meet and tell me why you think I'm an idiot? What's your schedule like? And of course they didn't respond. So
Of course.
I do kind of got a little bit of petty in me, like Jared. I'll have to tell you.
Hallelujah.
I have to tell you the supreme petty move I pulled off air. But yeah.
That's dope. So I'm gonna now look, y'all, I'm about to be extra with the whole button pushing thing. So Ashley kindly sent some links and some things to kind of look at, and I was really, so I'm gonna show the clip of, you sent us 2 clips, and there's a clip of you talking about the history of Duke. And I gotta tell you, I had to watch it like twice, because the first time as you were talking, the dude sitting next to you was almost like, oh no.
That's the incumbent that I'm running against. That's the one I sent you, what he said about Charlie Kirk.
Oh, it's a black dude who said that too.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, we should come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. So I'm gonna try and play it, because I was very impressed with just your whole presentation of this information. And I feel like part of the reason you might not be getting pushback is I think people are like, I mean, they right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's real hard to be mad at somebody who's literally just providing facts. So let's see if I can do it without messing something up. And then
look at Renee go.
All right.
So I think the elephant in the room here is that Duke was built off the labor of enslaved Africans. Come on now, let's go. I'm sorry. Yeah. And there's a reason why Duke is still known as the plantation. Exactly. So between that and the forced sterilization of Black women in this city, if there was ever a case for reparations for an entity, it would be Duke University. So in my opinion, $50 million is actually a modest ask, because the damage is incalculable. When COVID hit, Duke bought out hotels and apartment complexes to put students in, so that they didn't have to lose tuition money for those students not coming to school. How do you think that contributed to our housing crisis for non-students in this city? With all these students taking up housing because Duke doesn't want to miss out on some tuition money. This city, if there was ever a case.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Bro, jump back. I can't even.
And I
can't even.
Personally for 6 years. So, yeah. So that was the Durham Rising candidate forum that happened a couple of weeks ago, and it started with a petition called Duke Respect Durham, where it was Duke workers, grad workers who were trying to form a union, and were also requesting that Duke pays it's called payment in lieu of taxes pilot, because Duke is the largest landowner in Durham and the largest employer. They own about 11% of the land. And because they are a nonprofit, they don't pay taxes on that land. And so in lieu of taxes, Durham Rising, which is now more joined with the UE 150, U.S. service workers, and the domestic workers union, to pressure Duke, instead of paying the taxes, since they don't pay taxes, to pay $50 million a year, so that money can go to affordable housing and affordable wages for folks in the city.
Yes. Listen, I feel like so often when we talk to folks about running for office and, the whole like dirty work of politics, like what you're doing is the thing that's missed, right? Like you actually being a community organizer who is built into the city, who is part of like the fabric of the city, who is really trying to like push for things that are common sense things that could do some benefit for the people who live there. So I want Ashley, I want you to know that you are the reason that I can't ever like really be against politics and like electoral politics, because and hopefully, like, you never know, like you could win, right? Like there's always that possibility, and hopefully you don't win and then turn into somebody that makes me want to scream, right? Because we all have seen that happen. But I'm gonna have faith that you are gonna be the person that you are now, should you win, right?
Oh, yeah, that's actually what when people ask me, am I the right person to be elected? I reiterate, like, I don't know if I'm the right person to be elected. That's for the people that are voting to decide. But I do know that I'm the right person at this time to say the things that need to be said. And folks are overwhelmingly coming up to me and thanking me for doing what I'm doing, because a lot of people want to say things and they don't feel like they can because of personal, professional, and business alliances. And there's a concentration of power in this city. So if you piss off the wrong person, you could potentially lock out your ability to get funding for things and subject yourself to being isolated from the larger, more powerful alliances in the community. But because I don't have any connections with these people, I don't care. And I don't feel other people are like, they legitimately have a desire to be in politics. A lot of the folks in the race are from the Democratic Party, or sponsored by the Democratic Party, and some of them have run previously, and so they want to be in politics. I like managing the community fridge and taking fresh produce and putting it in the fridge for the people that live in a food desert. I like being with the people, and I don't know that I have what is necessary to shrink myself to navigate a political environment. So if I get it, I've been clear. Like, I believe in term limits, and I believe you should have one term limit. I believe you should go in and do all the things that need to be done and shake things up and push for as much as you can, and then move the hell on. The problem is that people get in and they want to do this forever. And so they don't want to cause too much of a ruckus, because they're always thinking about that next election and not alienating people so they can get reelected. And because I don't have a genuine desire to be a politician at all, I don't care about those things. I appreciate being able to have this platform and get my messaging across as a candidate in ways that I wouldn't be able to as just a resident, and reiterating some of the concerns of the people in my community who don't get listened to, because our leadership has a habit of being very condescending, and they talk to residents like we're stupid and we don't know what's going on, and we don't know how government works, and we can't do this. That's not in our purview. And my thing is, when the people want or need something, we're told we can't do it, or it's not legal, or it's against the rules. When a developer or an entity, a corporate entity with money comes in, they say, well, we want to change the rules. What do we need to do to change the rules? And y'all work with them to change the rules. So why can't you all work with us to change the rules? Or why can't you move outside of the rules to benefit people the way in the ways in which you move outside the rules to benefit yourself? I have, Renee, I'm gonna blame you for this. The majority of my page is me in rabbit holes connecting our politicians to our developers, to law firms, to investors, and how they're all working together, Black and white, to make sure that poor and working class people don't have access to the things that we need. And that is historic in Durham. I appreciate Musa for mentioning the book Class Warfare in Black Atlanta, because the dynamics in Durham are very similar to Atlanta. And I've talked to an elder in the community, and he says that Durham is actually what set the template for Atlanta, not the other way around.
Wow.
Durham is cited as the first Black Wall Street. And Durham has a rich history of Black wealth. Booker T. Washington and W.E. Du Bois both came to Durham and talked about how it was such a great city for Black people, because in this particular neighborhood called Hayti, named after Haiti, it was a historical Black neighborhood, and people could pretty much get everything they needed in that neighborhood. But it's also kind of mystified as if everybody in Hayti had money and was doing okay. And that's just not true. The wealthier Black people lived up on the hill as like a physical and metaphorical buffer to keep the lower class and working class Black people on one side from pushing back too much and be a barrier between the white people downtown. And that legacy has continued through today via two primary PACs that we have in our city. So we have the People's Alliance, which is a multiracial PAC that's been around since like the 70s. And then we have the Durham Committee on Affairs of Black People, which is a Black excellence, Black capitalist organization consisting mainly of business people or senators like Floyd McKissick, and folks that make deals, like those two groups make sure that the poor people and the working class people don't push back too much. In Durham, no one has been elected to public office in the past decade without the endorsement of one or both of those PACs. And so when I entered the race, I said that I'm not taking any money, no donations. So you can run with no donations, use your own money. As long as you keep it under $1,000, you don't have to really submit all of the paperwork that other candidates do. And so that's how I'm running. And my $1,000 limit includes the $400 that I had to pay to file. So I have had $600 outside of that to use to do flyers, website, all of that. And I also refused any PAC endorsements. So I didn't even fill out their questionnaires and sent them an email like, I'm not going to fill out your questionnaire. I'm not accepting PAC endorsements, but I hope you find something you can gravitate to in my campaign. And so this one particular PAC, their facilitator works at a particular law firm. The developer who was involved in a very controversial rezoning case in Durham in the Hayti neighborhood about a month ago, their representation was also from the same law firm. Somebody from that law firm is a lobbyist for Apple, and this person purchased 200 acres of land in an area that Apple was supposed to buy and do something with, but they never did. So he bought that land. He works at that law firm. And then the same law firm counsels the city on the city's municipal bonds, which is basically the city getting money from investors, and then they get their money back through property taxes and it's a guaranteed bond, so the person is guaranteed to get their money back. But you can't figure out who buys them, because places like Fidelity and Vanguard, they buy them and then they resell them to investors. So you don't know who's actually owning, for lack of a better word, pieces of the city. And it's just, it is so outrageous, the number of connections I have found. We have a city council person running whose husband used to work at Lehman Brothers. He owns a home health care agency that was backed by Bain Capital. And they own, I search their, what I'll do is when I see people, I'll go search their name on the Secretary of State and see what type of businesses they have. They have businesses, and if you look at the description of the business, it specifically says created for the sole purpose of investing in opportunity zones. So what do you think these people are running for city council for? For their own personal benefit, because they are connected. A random website popped up called Yes for Durham. It's a social welfare organization, it says. And the whole website is promotion of the pro-developer people running for city council. And so again, I searched up the name, and the address matches that woman's husband's business. And I'm just like, you created a website, a 501c4, to put your wife on city council. And because they're Jewish, when the critiques come up, we're accused of being anti-Semitic.
That's
just one piece of it. That's just one piece.
That's some wild stuff. But this is, I find that this is the thing that happens in multiple places. You have the bonds and the property lots that you can't quite figure out, well, who bought it and who owns it, and why can't you track this information, and why is the city paying for a lease to rent a property that's not being used by anything that supposedly the city already owned and took a bond for. There's some wild circular reasoning going on when you start talking about property and property taxes and all these things. So to hear that all of that is happening also in where you're at in Durham is not surprising at all, but it's it's interesting, and I'm sorry that you followed me down rabbit holes.
No, it's good. I love it.
Yeah, it's a wild thing when you start reading something and you're like, wait, that don't make no sense. What does this mean? And then next thing you know, it's been like an hour, and you're not even sure how you ended up where you ended up.
Yeah, it's like you pull a thread, and it's this never ending. It's like I almost want to get a board. I even post it, when I start posting these things, I compare it. And so I'll post these things about people, and then I'll put the picture from The Wire with all the suspects on the board. And the whole wall to connect what you all are doing. And so they don't really know how to deal with me, because I don't practice the respectability thing and the decorum thing that's expected. I'm not going to take a picture with you and smile with you and ask you how you are, because I think you're a traitor. I think you're an enemy of the people, and I don't want to fraternize with you. And I don't think that's necessary. I'm not going to be outwardly rude to you, but I'm also not, I don't want to be there. I did take I wasn't a candidate for him, and I had to take a picture. And if you look at the picture, I look like Cory Booker in that picture with Benjamin Netanyahu. You would really have to look hard to find me in that picture, because I didn't want to be in the picture. I liked the person who asked me to be in the picture, who was also running. And all of us newcomers, we actually all talk to each other and communicate, because we realize we're running against a system that's unfair to us. The thing, and the levels of corruption that I have uncovered, to me, I'm telling people like there must be something very big on the horizon. Like to me, I feel like we're about to experience a super second wave of urban renewal in Durham because it's almost a rabid promotion of development. The woman that I was speaking of, she consists develop. We need to build. People want to live here, so we need to build. But we have like a 10% vacancy rate in apartments downtown, but no one can afford them, so they're vacant. And they just want to keep building things higher and higher and higher, and they don't want to make good use of the space that we already have. And we have a socialist on city council, and it's what's very disappointing is Durham is almost 40% Black. We have a Black mayor. We have 3 Black city council members, a Chilean city council member, and 3 white city council members. Our sheriff is a Black man. Our police chief is a Black woman. Our DA is a Black woman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's, like, again, like into Atlanta, you have all these Black people in leadership making decisions that are adversarial to Black people. And folks don't want to critique them because sometimes all folks see is a Black person in power and they don't want to disrupt that for them. And so people don't tell the truth. The Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People endorsed that woman. And I'm told it's because she bought some tables at their gala that they had. But she's never interacted with their organization. She was asked last night about her relationship with the Black community. She didn't really have a salient answer. And so it's just very clear it's all about the money. And these are things you know, but just being on the inside, I can't even imagine what it's like on the state and federal level. Like, this is a mid-sized city council race. And all these people are behaving so unscrupulously. There has to be something at stake here. And it's honest, it's in many ways, it's scary. It's scary, the lengths that these people are going. When you get endorsed by one of the PACs here, they immediately ask you for money. I think $3,000 is what they ask you for. As a candidate, you're asked for that.
To the PAC?
Yes.
Wait, the candidate is paying the PAC $3,000?
Yes. There's an article, I'll send it to you afterwards, but a woman ran for school board. And first they kind of played around and she was unsure if they were going to endorse her, even though she volunteered with them and did all this stuff. And then as soon as she got elected, they asked for the money. It was $2,500 at that time, and she didn't have it. And she was able to negotiate it down to $1,500 and make payments on it. But it's like you're buying your endorsement essentially. And they say they pile it together and use it to run you all. But I mean, well, what if the person doesn't have any money? No wonder you endorse the same type of people, because they got to be able to put money into the PAC for you.
Now, can people, like, could someone fundraise and have someone else pay that amount on their behalf? Like,
yeah, they can.
Okay. So this is essentially, so just so folks know, like, this is essentially how it also works in federal, like on the federal level in Congress. Like, you get in, and that's why there's this always like constant rotation of jokes about, like, the first thing that they tell you to do when you start your job in Congress is to make fundraising calls. And it's because you are expected to raise a certain amount of money for the PAC that assisted you in your election. And so that's why people spend so much time making fundraising calls and sending text messages and all these things, is because once you get into your seat, the expectation is that you're then going to turn around and help that PAC raise the money that they need in order to continue. And they say, quote unquote say that it's, you know, so that they can help future candidates and all these things, but it's a hustle. It's a hustle.
Yep.
It's a legit hustle.
I also forgot to mention the woman's husband is also on the Durham Convention Center Advisory Board. And our mayor is subtly, not so subtly, pushing for a new convention center because he wants to be able to compete with neighboring cities. So the freeway that split through the historically Black neighborhood during urban renewal and destroyed it's estimated to have cost $300 million in destruction into that community. They want to put putting a freeway cap over the freeway and putting a convention center up there. And he's a business owner. Since he became mayor, he has increased, or since he was on city council first. Since he's been in public office, his business portfolio has increased. He has a Zimbabwean restaurant with his wife. Since he's been in office, he started a kiosk at Duke. So if you notice, he wasn't at that Durham Rising meeting because his business is at Duke. So he don't want to make anybody at Duke upset. His son also goes to Duke. So he doesn't want to make Duke upset. But he's gotten two other businesses since he's been in public office. At one point in time, he was pushing crypto. At one point in time, he was doing the Bank Black thing. He did a business meeting with John Hope Franklin in North Carolina Central University.
Now you're doing what I did, John Hope Bryant.
Yep.
Not Franklin. That was.
I did say Franklin.
I kept doing the same thing, which is funny because I did notice on your campaign page on your housing policy, you have a lot to say, but none of it is get your credit score up to 750.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, what kind of housing policy could you be advocating if it's not the John Hope Bryant 700, credit score and get all the houses that you want?
I'm promoting social housing and public housing. I was in the projects, the McDougal Terrace, and there's a company here called Uplift Laundry Truck, and they provide laundry services for people who need it so that they can maintain their dignity. And their goal is to eventually have a laundry truck that they can go physically to people and wash their clothes for them if they need them washed. But for now, they post up at different laundromats in low-income neighborhoods, and they put $10 on people's wash cards so people can wash their clothes. So we were in the public housing project and just walking around letting people know, hey, we're down here at the laundromat. Come get some food. I was also volunteering with Feed Durham. You had Katina on. And we give out food, give out the laundry, and we usually have like the book harvest people come give kids the books. And I was just walking around at how dilapidated and looking at how dilapidated that complex is. And it just, the next time I had a forum, how do you greenlight these multi-million-dollar projects where people are living where it looks like a bomb was dropped there? And how do you reconcile that with yourself? Like, somebody came up to me because I was asking her about, what's important to y'all here? And she was telling me about housing and childcare. And she said, I'm sorry, I've been drinking. Y'all know you smelling on my breath. And it's just fucked up that you got to get drunk and high to get through the day, is what she said. And because it's so destitute and like desolate there, people have to feel medicated. And I can't get with it. I can't get with pushing out people and putting up $1 million condos for people to live who a couple years ago wouldn't be caught dead in these neighborhoods. Wouldn't be caught dead. And some of these places with like dilapidated vacant buildings, people own them and have the means to renovate them. But they're waiting until the developers come in and pour more money into it so it'll raise their property values. So they don't do anything with it. And these vacant properties just sit. And then, of course, they become magnets for antisocial behavior because I don't use crime. I redirect the conversation about crime. I don't know. I have another clip from that Durham Rising campaign when they were asking about crime. And I mentioned that we need to redefine what crime is. Because they had a woman there speaking about how she's been at Duke over a decade handling hazardous waste and she makes $18. And I was, that's a crime. Her mom's been working at Duke for 40 years. Having to work at some place for 40 years is a crime. Cost of living itself is a crime. Like, why is there a price tag on living? Why do you have to produce labor in order to have the basic necessities? You shouldn't have to.
Shoot, even Whoopi Goldberg said recently she can't retire. That's how bad it is out here.
I knew it was going there.
But did you see that? I couldn't believe it. She was like, I can't. They were like, when you retire, she said, I can't afford to retire. I was like, what? Anyway, but no, that's all of those, Ashley, are really good points about, yeah, you shouldn't have to work anywhere for 40 years. That's ridiculous. And then $18 an hour to handle hazard waste at Duke University.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
And I don't know if y'all saw, but Jerry Seinfeld was also at Duke University this week. And they had one of the hostages from Israel come talk about his experience. It was a private event at Duke. Oh, wow. Jerry Seinfeld was the guest speaker, and one of our senators, Sophia Chitlick, was the moderator for it. And at this event, Jerry Seinfeld likened Free Palestine protesters to the KKK and said that but he kind of actually appreciates the KKK more because they're honest. They'll just say, I hate blacks and I hate Jews, whereas Free Palestine people want to make it be about something else, and it's not. And then wow. And then of course the next day the Charlie Kirk thing happened, and they had some students had like a nice little vigil for him on campus.
Wow. Wow.
And our local politicians in that same pack that I mentioned, they all helped get this person elected who moderated this event. But me bringing it up is me being anti-Semitic. And yeah.
I heard the same thing, Matt Stu. Seinfeld likes the KKK. That's the headline. That's wild.
The person who is doing the "you're being anti-Semitic" is the black man, the mayor pro tem, who I'm running against. He's the one. He actually went on a tirade last night because somebody asked the Diana Medoff, the woman I mentioned earlier, whose husband is connected with all this stuff. They asked her, well, who's your treasurer? Because all these people, they have the same treasurer, right? He just asked, who's your treasurer? And why is he involved in so many people's campaigns? And she talked about him and who he was. And then the Mark Anthony Middleton, my opponent, he starts going off about how we are leaning into anti-Semitic tropes and being anti-Jewish. And he brought up Israel and all these things. And nobody said anything about that man being Jewish. Nobody said anything about Israel. Nobody said anything about any of that. Zionists, none of that. Somebody just asked about their treasurer. And just asking the question prompted him to accuse the room of being anti-Semitic. And he's the one who did the Charlie Kirk thing, if you want to go back into that conversation.
Yeah. So okay, hold on. Let's see if we can still get stuff right. All right. So
that is bizarre. Oh wow! Yeah, here we go.
So this was the release by your opponent, who is the incumbent. Oops, look at me messing stuff up because I don't know how to work the button. All right, so it says that he's sickened by the murder. The city of Durham is deservedly celebrated as a place that is safe to be where you are and to speak your mind, even if we find your views abhorrent. The thought of being physically attacked, your identity is anathema. I've never even seen that word before. What's that word, Jared?
I think he might have
means No, it's.
Oh,
I'm
it's a real
sorry.
word?
Yeah. Anathema just means it's totally against what we are supposed to be about.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought maybe he was trying to put unfathomable.
No,
And then
yeah.
deep condolences and, a perfect union, et cetera, et cetera. I when I read this,
Wow.
I was a little taken aback. And it wasn't so much that the statement was made, because this is what, what's been shared over and over again, these statements and, in support and all those things. But I think what I was more surprised about was, this statement of like what a free reigning place Durham was, because what I could remember was the young people from North Carolina Central coming on and speaking about the abuse that they were taking for, being in support of the Palestinian movement and being thrown out of housing. I'll share again the GoFundMe for those young people, because someone's been forcibly evicted from campus housing. And so it's always back to this idea of, again, like, it's free speech, and we want everybody to be able to, like, to speak about the things that they feel are important, et cetera, as long as you remain aligned with what the mainstream narrative is of all of these things, right? Like, it's always missed, like I read, in that list, there's an article from ESPN. And funny enough, like weirdly enough, ESPN might have done the most like basic coverage of this whole story, which I was really surprised by, because they talked about a lot of different things. But what ESPN did, which is what most mainstream things did, was, they started talking about like the concerns about, being able to have people come on your campus and have the free speech, and, this fear that, the response when people come on campus. And there's no mention of the amount of student organizations, speakers, events, all these things that have been canceled at college campuses across the country for the past 2 years, because they wanted to speak about Palestine and the Palestinian movement, right? Like that's not included in your rights for free speech. It's not included in your ability to promote an event. It's not included in what your organization is allowed to do on campus. So it's almost like we bypassed all of the suppression and oppression that was happening, right? Because this is all longstanding, like all these organizations and campuses that they're like, we need you to fire people right now because of the thing that they posted on their social media on Wednesday. These are all places that have been actively suppressing the voices of people who are speaking on behalf of the Palestinian people for years.
Yes.
And no one seemed to notice or mind the lack of free speech that comes with that.
What makes his post so egregious is, I think it might have been February 2024. We have a group called Mothers for a Ceasefire, and we had Jewish Voices of Peace, and different local organizations got together to develop a ceasefire resolution for Durham. And they brought it to city council, and everybody signed it except the Black mayor and the Black mayor pro tem, you just shared what he said about Charlie Kirk. There were only 2 people that didn't sign it. And the mayor said that he didn't sign it because he wanted to show that the city was divided on the issue, not that he didn't personally not agree with it, but he just wanted to demonstrate that the city was divided on the issue. But now that I know where all their money is coming from, it makes sense why he was reluctant to sign it.
No, of course, because that's what all elected officials do, is they get elected to represent all the sides and all the differing views at once.
Right.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I wish I would have sent y'all the video of my mayor saying he did, instead of coming to that Durham Rising candidate forum with the unions, he went and did a private interview with somebody. And he says, I love gentrification. He says, I love gentrification, but I hate displacement. And displacement's in the actual definition of gentrification. So now he's mad that someone has looped that and is accusing her of editing his words, but she didn't edit his words. She just looped him saying, "I love gentrification."
It's some wild stuff. It's some wild stuff. But I will just very quickly, and this is older, but I thought it was really, back to this idea of like the things that are allowed, like what things are allowed to be said and what things are not allowed to be said, and we can wrap soon, but I just feel like this is par for the course, and it explains a lot about like how what the government is doing, right? Because none of this stuff with the free speech is new. So just very quickly, we're gonna share that.
And the overwhelming majority of people that you know are one word away. It doesn't matter if you're 13 years old when you said it. You're one word, you're one statement, you're one retweet, you're one like away from destroying your life. There are kids in America that have had their admissions to a college revoked. There are now certain things that you're not allowed to say on a college campus.
Mr. Secretary, a Turkish student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah,
and what was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist.
You can't make this stuff up, man.
But see, but that's part of the one of the many, one of the big reveals again of this post Kirk moment is, again, there is no level playing field, not only materially but in terms of the exchange of ideas. There's no principled engagement. There's no debate to be had. There's no interest in a critically thinking public sphere existing in this country. Like, none of this is meant to actually be anything other than used to push what has always been a general or variant of a settler colonial agenda. So they're not. It's yes. I mean, it's fun. It's important. It's obvious to show these distinctions and catch these folks in their hypocritical moments. But I mean, there is, even from where we started with the attempt to frame Kirk's assassination or killing or whatever people want to call it as something of a concoction of the left. There's no attempt to be serious about any of this. These folks are just, and we've been hearing the Durham version of it from Ashley for a few minutes here. They're ignoble, unprincipled, unserious in terms of actual exchange or discussion folks. Like, they're here only to push one set of ideas. So engaging with any attempt to be principled or level-headed or thoughtful or whatever is like a fruitless endeavor. It's
right. There's no win in this situation, right? There's no win when you live in a place that very actively suppresses and oppresses who it wants when it wants to do that, gets no pushback, and everyone who has the ability to represent what's really happening chooses to give like piecemeal storylines just to go along with whatever mainstream narrative is being sold at the moment. And then people are never able to just deal with the very truthful realities of all of these situations. And then they're like shocked when you're like, I don't even understand what you're talking. Like, people actually respond with like shock when people are like, that's not the reality, right? Because most people don't have time to fall down rabbit holes and track money and track who's sponsoring who and who's supporting what and where this money came from to do this thing. Like, people don't have time to invest. They don't have energy to invest. And it works to the benefit of all the people who are spending all of their time propagandizing the population. They bank on people not having time. They bank on people having really short memories. They bank on people not being able to really follow the storyline to its conclusion. Because, you know, I like to always remind people, at the start of what happened to George Floyd in 2020, he had a medical emergency. And had someone not chosen to show the video of what happened, that would have been the storyline, right? And it's consistent across the board in all things, that they present a story, they tell that story, and even when the story turns out to be totally false, right? Even when there's a total back down or a reverse in course or whatever thing happens, that's the thing that gets buried, right? Yep. So people then don't even know that there was like something secondary that happened. Like, I don't know how many people realize that the Department of Education ended up getting a lot of its money that was supposedly being held because they couldn't, the administration literally could not fail to give that money where it was supposed to go. But that story didn't make the headlines, right? So it's some wild stuff. Real quick, and we do have to go soon, but there were two questions, and I want to make sure that we highlight this. So Circumvent asks if you have any relationship to the local DSA in Durham.
DSA loves me, but when I started, because I wasn't running with the goal to win, they weren't going to endorse. And then they actually just decided to not just endorse any local candidates this year. So I have a good relationship with DSA and PSL. Shout out to Nicole, Vic, Alex, Edgar, Mickey, all the folks at PSL. They've been doing a lot of canvassing and a lot of organizing for local people around housing. And they've also been sharing my information, and I've gone to their they had socialist reconstruction work sessions, and I incorporate that into the things that I'm saying regarding housing and transit. And so, yeah, I have a relationship with them, but I'm not a member.
Okay. And then I just realized the second question is you actually answered it multiple times, which is they wanted to know what Black leadership was doing in Durham that was against Black people. But I feel like you answered that question multiple times.
Well, if there's
anything that you want to add, please do.
Yeah, if you want to see something specific, you can look up Mayor Leonardo Williams referring to Black youth as YNs at a public campaign event. Minister Paul Scott, Jared, he says he interviewed with you in some of your early mixtape days. He's still out here in the streets. He posts up in the Bragtown community. He has a conglomerate called Black Hoodie Brigade, and he sits at the bus stop for hours, 6 days a week, giving Black liberation related books out to young people. And I was out there with him the other day, and the young man walked by he had given The Color of Law to. And he was asking him questions about it, and the young man had answers for it. So, yeah, like having the respect and the appreciation from people like Minister Scott, like that's what I'm, doing this for.
So all hands off.
Right on. And salute to Minister Paul Scott. It's been a minute, yeah, but we used to build on occasion. So that's good to hear. Right on.
So I shared in the chat the link to your campaign page and information,
which is now also in the show description.
There we go. And I really, I appreciate, what you said at the start about having like the anxiety of having to do public speaking and kind of fighting your own battles within yourself to pursue this thing for the benefit of the people is really admirable. Like I don't really have words outside of just, thanking you for being you and for making the decision that you were going to share your brilliance and try to do what you can for the people that you live around. Because I think that's the big thing that's always missing in politics is people who really just care about people and want people to live better lives. I don't know that you can ask somebody to be more than that when they decide that they're going to throw their hat in these wild political rings. So I applaud it and I appreciate you. And, you know, let's keep us posted on how things are going. You have a primary, right, coming up?
Yeah, so early voting for the primary starts September the 18th through October the 4th. And then the actual election day is October the 7th. So since there are 3 of us in this race, the top 2 will make it to the general election in November. Before we wrap, can I give some quick acknowledgements?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Do.
I'd like to give an acknowledgement to Brother Zaidi. He's in that Durham Rising video with me. He's to my left. He is 81, running for mayor against the incumbent. He reminds me much of Daruba, the way that he speaks. It demands that you listen. He's a former Panther and Nation of Islam member. Kwatomek, I met, he's a part of the Autonomous Brown Berets. He shows up all the time. He's been supporting me. Amanda with Operation CPS. She would be a good guest to have on here. She has a campaign to get CPS out. She's a former social worker and took her experience to tackle how CPS is family policing and splitting up families, putting people's kids where they can't get to them. Shambo and Phillip from Black Men Build. I met Phillip. He's a Black Liberation Media. He's in the chat sometimes, and I met him at Feed Durham. So the channel is like really connecting people. Moms for Ceasefire, Katina B. Durham, Be Connected Durham, and the LBS Stop and Shop, where I have the community fridge. And shout out to Germany who let us set that fridge up. It's a convenience store, so it doesn't compete with what they sell. And we weekly put fresh fruits, vegetables from community gardens in there that people can just take what they need. And every now and then they'll have a boombox out there grilling fish and stuff. Courtney, Germany, Tony, Mr. Palmer, I appreciate y'all for patroning the fridge and supporting what we do. And I thank you, Renee and Jared and the Black Liberation Media platform for elevating my consciousness and encouraging me to share this information with other people.
That's the point. That's the point of this now 50,000 subscriber platform.
Facts.
So salute, congratulations, everybody. And Ashley, thank you very much for joining us for this discussion. It's been great.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, y'all.
So we out.
We out here. As old boy always says. One of his videos is on that link because he did a really good breakdown on some of this stuff. So
help us help us celebrate by continuing to like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon. Go to blackliberationmedia.org, link in the show description, and get yourself a shirt to celebrate the 50,000 subscriber mark that we've hit. All the names of the shows on the back. It's a little difficult to turn around in frame here, but I was
about to say, don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, but trust me, they're all listed on the back there, and this is great. We hit our century mark as a show here. We've hit 50,000 during the show here. This has been great. Ear Doctor even showed up at the beginning. Then we had Ashley on the other side. This is so, you know, what better way to commemorate the moment. So
here we go.
All right, Renee, thank you very much. Salute again to the undefeated chat. Peace, everyone. Only if you're willing to fight for it, like Fred Hampton used to say. We'll see you next week with more Saturday with Renee.